There is an incredibly alarming admission that Stephanie White recently made on television, and it should worry every single Indiana Fever supporter much more than any box score, poor shooting night, or coaching mistake made all year. Following a very intense and physical game against the Golden State Valkyries, a media member questioned White regarding a technical foul given to Caitlin Clark. Clark received the penalty during a highly publicized, tense moment in the final quarter. It stood out as one of the most obvious high-stress events of the whole broadcast. Yet Stephanie White looked back at the reporter with a completely blank expression and admitted she had no idea Clark had been penalized. She literally stated, "Yeah, I didn't know that either." When asked if she worried about a possible ejection, White responded, "I didn't know that she got a technical either. So, I guess they announced it, but nobody told us. So, I thought the officials would have told us." It is stunning that the head coach of a professional basketball team was completely unaware that her star player, the main emotional driver of the team, was given a technical foul during a game she was actively managing from the sideline with a headset on, while backed by a full staff of assistants whose main responsibility is to track and share exactly what occurs on the floor. She was totally oblivious. Defensive scheme critique. Welcome back. This is WNBA Pro, and that embarrassing mistake reveals precisely what the most dangerous issue within the Indiana Fever organization truly is. We are peeling back the layers to reveal a completely broken coaching setup. If you assumed the team's issues were merely about roster chemistry, you need to completely rethink things. We are going to examine the exact flaw in White's defensive strategy, highlight the complete breakdown in sideline communication, and show precisely why this staff is setting the players up for failure as the postseason race intensifies. Let me break down why missing a technical foul points to a major organizational failure that highlights how this coaching staff struggles under pressure. Yes, you know exactly what time it is. We need to dive into the footage and analyze the game tape. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White made a critical error, and if she continues down this path, it will absolutely cost the team victories. They will definitely drop games if she keeps doing this. Stephanie White chose to keep switching her post players onto perimeter guards, leaving those bigs isolated on the outside against quick ball handlers they couldn't keep up with, which left smaller guards trapped inside trying to defend post players near the basket. A substitution or rotation error is a choice people can argue about. Keeping Clark on the floor for 37 minutes instead of 30 is a conscious decision. Leaving your top reserve scorer on the bench is a choice. Decisions can be evaluated, critiqued, or supported based on a coach's overall strategy. However, failing to recognize what is happening on the floor during live action is not a choice. It is a total failure of basic communication. In professional basketball, a technical foul changes the strategic landscape. It alters how you handle that player during the final minutes of a game. It dictates whether you keep her on the floor or sit her down to prevent a second technical and a mandatory ejection. If Clark had been given another penalty in the fourth quarter of a close game, she would have been disqualified, leaving White to navigate the final moments without her starting playmaker, all because her assistants failed to pass along crucial game information. This total lack of situational awareness is transferring straight into the team's actual execution on the court, particularly on defense. Monique Billings was the primary defender tracking the screener, and then you see Monique Billings get caught switching onto Gabby Williams. Let's look closer at the footage. Right here, we see Gabby Williams out on the perimeter being guarded by Monique Billings. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell is trapped on a post player who is easily backing her down toward the hoop. The defense tries to crowd them, but Stokes has a massive size advantage. That is simply too easy. That resembles high school level execution. It is far too simple for the offense. You cannot just switch tiny perimeter defenders onto interior post players and assume the big player won't just immediately cut straight to the low block or the basket. Tactical impact on players. While the communication is completely falling apart on the bench, the defensive strategy is actively exposing the players to tough situations. Stephanie White has put in place a lazy, outdated defense that switches on every single pick and roll. Instead of requiring her perimeter defenders to play hard, stay low, and fight through screens, she is letting them take the simplest way out. Every time an opponent sets a ball screen, the Fever simply swap defensive assignments. This creates a highly predictable and dangerous trend of terrible mismatches on nearly every single play. We see it out here with Caitlin Clark, while Kelsey Mitchell gets trapped inside on a larger player. The The switch forces Boston out onto the perimeter, where the guard tries to utilize her quickness. Why are we forcing Aliyah Boston out to defend point guards on the perimeter? Naturally, the guard is going to fake her out. Of course, the guard will drive right past her. This leads to a basket and a foul, forcing Aliyah Boston to pick up an unnecessary whistle because she was placed in a spot she never should have been in. Stephanie White mismanaged Clark's positioning. First, observe what this strategy does to Aliyah Boston. Boston is an elite WNBA center brought in to control the interior and defend the rim. Yet, because of White's automatic switching rules, Boston is repeatedly forced to guard incredibly quick playmakers on the perimeter. A screen gets set, very little contact occurs, the defenders switch, and suddenly Boston is completely isolated on an island 30 feet away from the hoop. The opposing playmaker immediately exploits the mismatch, handles the ball on the outside, easily blows right past Boston, and attacks the rim for an easy score and a free throw. Boston picks up a tiring, unnecessary foul purely because her coach put her in a strategically impossible spot. The impact of this strategy is just as damaging on the other end of the mismatch. Small defenders are being switched onto big players all game long. A shot misses long from three-point range. A post player grabs the rebound, and because a small guard is trapped on a big player, it leads to an easy offensive rebound and a putback score. Alright, now we look at the left-handed player who was playing incredibly well, Tiffany Hayes. A switch puts defense on her, meaning Monique Billings is now switched onto Tiffany. While your star center is getting exposed on the perimeter, your smaller guards are getting completely pushed around inside the paint. By constantly switching small perimeter players onto post players, Stephanie White is essentially giving away defensive rebounds. The opposing big player simply positions herself in front of the smaller fever guard under the hoop, easily grabs the offensive rebound, and scores without resistance. A perimeter guard like Kelsey Mitchell physically cannot box out a power forward. It goes against basic physics. We watched this happen over and over on the game tape. We saw small guards get pulled into the interior and completely isolated. The massive free throw differences this team encounters are not because of a referee conspiracy. They are the direct, undeniable consequence of a lazy defensive strategy that forces out-of-position players to commit fouls out of pure desperation. These are not rare, isolated moments. They are a clear, connected pattern of poor coaching. Consider the overall picture of White's coaching throughout this year. Systemic coaching issues. We see a total breakdown in staff communication where the head coach doesn't even realize her franchise star has received a technical foul. We see a defensive failure where she relies on a lazy switching system that isolates her center on the perimeter and leaves her guards helpless in the paint. On top of that, we see an offensive rotation issue where she keeps Clark and Boston separated for long stretches, which completely stalls the offense during critical moments of close games. These errors all share a common, incredibly dangerous characteristic. Stephanie White and her assistants are simply not processing the live game action fast enough to make the necessary adjustments to win. The Indiana Fever currently hold a 4-2 record. They have genuine championship goals. Caitlin Clark is putting up MVP-caliber statistics, and Aliyah Boston is playing like an elite WNBA center once again. The natural talent on this team is undeniable, and their potential is incredibly high, but the coaching structure is completely flawed. This lazy switching defense might work against weak, bottom-tier teams, but what happens when they face elite squads like the Las Vegas Aces or the New York Liberty? Do you honestly believe the Fever will survive if Aliyah Boston is forced to guard Sabrina Ionescu at the top of the key, or if Kelsey Mitchell is left defending Aya Wilson in the low post? It will be an absolute disaster. The fix requires basic basketball principles and standard professional communication. Call for strategic reform. White needs to set up a real-time communication system on the bench so she actually stays aware of what is happening during the game, and she must immediately get rid of the automatic switching scheme. The perimeter guards must stay attached, fight over the top of screens, and keep their original assignments so Aliyah Boston can remain in the paint where she is most effective. If these two major problems, the sideline communication blind spots and the lazy defensive switching, are not fixed right away, it will absolutely cause a total collapse in the playoffs when they face elite teams. This is WNBA Pro. Click that subscribe button right now if you want bold, high-quality film analysis that challenges fake storylines and holds coaches fully accountable for their strategic errors. Leave your most honest, unfiltered thoughts in the comments section below. Is Stephanie White's lazy switching defense going to destroy the Fever's postseason aspirations? And how unacceptable is it for a head coach to be completely unaware of a technical foul? I want to see every real basketball take in that comments section. Turn on your notifications because this tactical battle is heating up. The game tape doesn't lie, and we are tracking every single mistake. We will see you in the next video.